Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DDI India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi offers prayers at Dashashwamedh Ghat in Varanasi ahead of filing nomination for the general elections. All right, let's get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. All right, we'll get you the latest on the world's largest democratic elections in India. All right, so India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be filing his nomination papers from Varanasi on Tuesday. We'll get back to this story, but we'll slip in a very short break. On the other side, more stories. Keep watching DDI India.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with tales of bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi offers prayers at Dashashwamedh Ghat in Varanasi ahead of filing nomination for the general elections. Star witness in Trump hush money trial, Michael Cohen, testifies for the first time, says he doled out $130,000 at Trump's direction and was promised reimbursement. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken makes a surprise visit to Kiev as Moscow tries to scale up its offensive against Ukraine in Kharkiv. Fresh US aid already arrives on the battlefield. Situation tense in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's Muzaffarabad as wheel jam strike enters its fourth day. Political activists demand international community to raise their voice for them. And 77th Cannes Film Festival to begin in France with 22 films competing for Palme d'Or. Lia Shadow, the second act, will open the festival. Let's get you first with the latest on the world's largest democratic elections in India. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be filing his nomination papers from Varanasi on Tuesday. He began his day by offering prayers at Dashashwamedh Ghat on the banks of river Ganga in Varanasi. He is seeking a third consecutive term as a member of parliament from the constituency, which will go to polls on June 1st in the 7th and final phase of the general elections. The results will be declared on June 4th. All right, so these are the visuals that we are showing you. Prime Minister Narendra Modi offers prayers before filing his nomination from Varanasi constituency. Will go to polls on June 1st. So PM Modi will be filing his nomination papers for the third time from Varanasi Lok Sabha seat on Tuesday after taking permission from Kashi's Kotwal Kal Bhairav. So before his nomination, these are the visuals that we are showing you. Prime Minister Modi paying obeisance to Mother Ganga at Dashashwamedh Ghat. And it is also proposed that PM will go to Namo Ghat, and from there he'll go to Kal Bhairav temple. All right, we'll go across to DD India's Anil Thomas. He is joining us on the phone line. Anil, PM Modi will file his nomination papers for the third time from Varanasi Lok Sabha seat on Tuesday. He offered prayers at Ganga also. Tell us his schedule first. He'll also go to Kal Bhairav temple. Tell us his schedule, and also he'll be filing his nomination papers from Varanasi today.
Well, exactly. Good morning, Abhishek. Well, it's going to be a very important day purely in this, from an election perspective. The Prime Minister going to file his nomination papers today. Remember, Varanasi comes to polls in the 7th phase. That's on the last phase of elections on the 1st of June. The Prime Minister there early in the morning visiting the Dashwamedh Ghat, on the banks of river Ganges, early in the morning to offer his prayers. Following that, before, submitting his nomination papers, the Prime Minister is also expected to take a cruise in that Namo Ghat in the city. And, we are expecting him to file his nomination papers roughly around 11:30 and 11:40. It's considered to be an auspicious occasion, this particular moment when he's going to file his nomination. And across India, you will see all political parties, political personalities using these auspicious times to go and file their nomination papers. And a trend that's been followed. And following his nomination papers, there could be a bee of who's who of India when it comes to chief minister, senior BJP functionaries who would be there along with the Prime Minister when he files his nomination papers. The long list, some names that have trickled down. The UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, the Bihar counterpart Nitish Kumar, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami, Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister, Chhattisgarh Chief Minister, Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Khadse, all being present for our Prime Minister's nomination. There are also other names, other senior dignitaries, all BJP ruled state Chief Ministers, along with the NDA allies, Chief Ministers from ruling states are going to be there. Senior BJP functioning is going to be there. Senior BJP leaders like Rajnath Singh and Amit Shah expected to be alongside Prime Minister when he files his nomination paper. But all in all, it's an important day when the Prime Minister of India, files his nomination papers, and you could see the build-up to it, the big roadshow that he had yesterday, a 5-kilometer stretch roadshow that he had in Varanasi. Clearly a big build-up to the big event that the filed nomination papers, looking for, once again getting re-elected from Varanasi. This is the third time that he's, fighting from Varanasi. In 2015, he had fought from 2 seats, Varanasi along with Vadodara in Gujarat. 2019, this was the sole seat that he fought from, Varanasi. Once again in 2024, he's back to the seat that's, for the 2 previous occasions taken into Parliament, once again back there. Looking forward, to a good contest there. Prime Minister has always been winning the seat handsomely. Over 3 lakh has been the winning margin in the previous 2 occasions, and very much on the expected line this time around. Also a tough contest. BJP, the Congress putting up Ajay Rai there as the candidate, but all in all, the support, the enthusiasm that has been seen among the public clearly indicates that the Prime Minister once again looks very certain of a good run in this elections.
Also, Anil, is he expected to get a good competition from the opponents? And also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned yesterday that Kashi is very special to me. Tell us, why is it very special to him?
Well, for many reasons. Once for taking the first half of your question, looking at the challenge that, the opposition candidate or the India Alliance candidate, the opposition bloc candidate, look at the margin of victory that the Prime Minister has had in 2014 and 2019. 2014, remember, there was also Arvind Kejriwal who jumped into the race fighting from Varanasi. And, the Prime Minister received close to 3,37,000 more votes than what his closest opponent had received in 2014, that's Arvind Kejriwal. And the constituency at that point of time had a close to 58 to 59% voter turnout. 2019, things don't change much. That time there was a Samajwadi candidate, Shalini Yadav. The vote percentage that the Prime Minister managed to win that seat grew to 4,80,000. So that clearly indicates that time too the voter participation was roughly in the same region of 58%. So the winning margin has been swelling for the Prime Minister. And this particular seat of Varni has been, generally a seat that's gone either to national political parties, the BJP or the Congress across the years. The regional forces don't have much of a push and pull here. Neither the Bahujan Samaj Party nor the Samajwadi Party has been able to make any inroads in the seat. So it's a seat that's generally between the two national political forces. And that's how the trend continues. This time around too, the Congress or the opposition alliance has fielded Ajay Rai. He's been there thrice before too in this race. It's a battle of, I would say, the two people once again back in the race. But clearly, the way things have been and the enthusiasm that's clearly been shown by the people of Varanasi, we know which side, the pendulum is swinging at this point of time. But clearly, when the Prime Minister talks about the close association with Kashi, the Prime Minister has done many things, especially for the region from the time he's taken over. And that's one very good reason why, the people have once again disturbed their trust in the Prime Minister when it comes to him standing from elections from Varanasi. And the Prime Minister, during his entire tenure, the last 10 years, has time and again visited, Varanasi, Kashi for the upliftment, for the betterment of the region. And schemes, ventures that have been started have always benefited the people there. The last common man on the ground, enjoying the fruits, enjoying the benefits of the schemes, the ventures that have been brought for the upliftment of Varanasi.
Absolutely. That's what Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said yesterday, that Kashi is very special to him, and a large number of people were also there gathered to witness the roadshow of Prime Minister Narendra Modi too. That shows that the following that he has in Varanasi. All right, Anil, we'll leave it at that. We'll go back to the other story now. Situation continues to worsen in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir due to clashes between protesters and authorities. Several videos circulating on social media show protesting civilians running for their lives as protests turn violent. This comes amid a wheel jam strike that is continuing for the 4th consecutive day in POK. Protesters have already started sit-ins, effectively shutting down the Kohala-Muzaffarabad road at various points along its 40-kilometer stretch, which connects Kohala town with Muzaffarabad in POK. The Awami Action Committee had called for a shutdown and wheel jam strike across the state as a mark of their protest against electricity price hikes and taxes. However, the situation escalated as clashes broke out between protesters and the police. The ongoing strike has brought daily life to a standstill, with markets, educational institutes and transport services suspended. Political activists Two expressed concern, demanding from the international community to raise their voice for them.
At the moment, the situation in Muzaffarabad, the capital of Pakistani-occupied Jammu Kashmir, is getting very, very serious. What happened is this morning, about 500,000 people descended upon Muzaffarabad and in the suburbs to protest against taxes on electricity bills, cuts in subsidies, and to demand end to the perks and privileges of the Prime Minister, the President, all members of Legislative Assembly, as well as the judges and bureaucracy. We are in a desperate situation. We need the international community to come and stand by us, raise their voice for us. The Indian repertoire in the United Nations, we request them to raise their voice at the United Nations Forum. We also request the Indian government to instruct the Ministry of External Affairs to summon the Pakistan ambassador and ask for an explanation. This is broad daylight murder that is taking place in POJK. Our lives are in danger, people's lives are in danger.
Amid the intensified protests against the Pakistan government in POK, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Monday reiterated India's stand on merging the illegally occupied region. He said that one day India will end the illegal occupation of Pakistan in POK and it will join with India.
For us, the initial goal was first to deal with the 370 issue. The country has already seen after 5 years how much of a difference there is today in the ground situation in Jammu and Kashmir as a result today of it being fully integrated with this country. So that part is integrated. There is the other part. So watch part 2 of the series.
Still to come on this edition of DD India NewsHour. First international staff member killed in Gaza since October 7. India's envoy at UN bats for respecting international humanitarian law by everyone under all circumstances. And US President Joe Biden signs a ban on Russian enriched uranium into law.
As India decides in the world's largest election,
We help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
We are in Assam. This is the tea city of India.
From down south, Tamil Nadu,
Discover the colors of democracy.
gateway to northeast of India.
Coastal state of Kerala. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Donald Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, returns to court on Tuesday following a day of revealing testimony on Monday. Cohen, the prosecution's crucial witness in Trump's hush money trial, is involved in the first criminal case against a US president in history. Trump, who faces 34 counts of falsifying business records, has pleaded not guilty. For more on this, let's turn to DD India's Sally Patterson.
On the witness stand Monday, Michael Cohen tried to paint himself as a loyal and obedient employee who did what his then boss, Donald Trump, told him to do under his watchful eye. That includes, he says, making a payment of $130,000 to adult movie star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election to try and keep quiet about an affair she said she had with the former president more than a decade before in 2006. Now, Donald Trump has always denied that affair took place. He was married to his wife at the time. Cohen talked the jury through how that payment was made to Daniels and then how he says that money was reimbursed by Trump. He's a key witness for prosecutors in this case who are trying to prove that Trump filed that reimbursement as legal expenses to try and suppress negative stories from coming out in the lead up to the 2016 election. Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 criminal counts of falsifying business records. His team will likely try and paint Cohen as a liar and as someone who has been convicted of crimes in the past and trying to discredit his testimony. On his way out of court, Donald Trump addressed the media, saying what's going on in that courtroom is a threat to democracy. He said, we cannot have a country where we get to prosecute your political opponents instead of persuading voters. He continues to say that this is all a ploy to try and keep him out of the White House. In New York, I'm Sally Patterson reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, leaving court in his hush money trial, Trump once again took aim at Judge Juan Merchan, repeating his claim that the timing of the trial was intended to hurt his ability to campaign as he seeks to reclaim the White House in 2024. Trump made no mention of his estranged former fixer Michael Cohen, who earlier in the day told the court the former US president personally approved a hush money payment.
But we have a corrupt judge, and we have a judge who's highly conflicted, and he's keeping me from campaigning. He's an appointed New York judge. He's appointed. You know who appointed him? Democrat politicians. He's appointed. He's a corrupt judge, and he's a conflicted judge, and he ought to let us go out and campaign and get rid of this scam. Every single legal analyst, even CNN, even MSDNC, they're saying, there's no case here. Thank you very much.
And in a significant development ahead of the November elections, American voters in 3 U.S. states, Maryland, West Virginia and Nebraska, are heading to the polls this Tuesday to cast their votes in the primaries. This election cycle has drawn attention as one of the candidates running in these primaries was convicted for involvement in the storming of the U.S. Capitol building on January 6, 2021. DD India's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
The primary contests are setting the stage for the November general election. Voters in Maryland, West Virginia and Nebraska are deciding who they want leading the Democratic and Republican parties in the presidential contest. Although remember, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump are all set to become their party's nominees. Importantly, though, this Tuesday there are several state and local races that could prove pivotal to November's outcome. In Maryland, the race is on to replace the Democratic Senator Ben Cardin, who's retiring this year. That contest has already become one of the most expensive in the state's history. One candidate is hoping to become the first black female senator for Maryland and just the third black woman ever elected to the upper chamber. Also in Maryland, voters are deciding on candidates that they want to become the next mayor of Baltimore. The city made international news in March when a cargo ship caused the collapse of Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. 20 Indian sailors remain stuck on board the boat, unable to leave, while investigations continue. In neighbouring West Virginia, there's a Republican Senate race that's highlighting the divisions in the party and the ongoing fight between more traditional conservative Republican candidates and hard-right ultra-conservative candidates. Nebraska, meanwhile, is also holding 2 Republican Senate primaries, and also making the headlines is a convicted US Capitol rioter who's hoping to become a congressman. Derek Evans was jailed for 3 months after he filmed himself and other Trump supporters storming the Capitol on January the 6th, 2021. In Washington, Nick Harper reporting for DD India.
All right, updates on Israel-Hamas conflict now. Heavy fighting underway both in South and North Gaza. Israeli forces pushed deep into Gaza's northern edge on Monday to recapture an area from Hamas fighters, while in the south tanks and troops pushed across a highway into Rafah. In northern Gaza's Jabalia, Israeli forces pushed into an area where they claimed to have dismantled Hamas months ago. Israel also stepped up aerial and ground bombardments on eastern areas of Rafah. Israeli operations in Rafah, which borders Egypt, have closed a main crossing point for aid. Now, the United Nations has confirmed its first international staff member was killed in Gaza on Monday. The worker is the first non-Palestinian UN staffer to die in the conflict. Deputy UN spokesperson Farhan Haq said that the Secretary General condemned all attacks on UN personnel and called for a full investigation. Take a listen.
Deeply to learn of the death of a United Nations Department of Safety and Security staff member, an injury to another DSS staffer when their UN vehicle was struck as they traveled to the European hospital in Rafah this morning. The Secretary General condemns all attacks on UN personnel and calls for a full investigation. He sends his condolences to the family of the fallen staff member. With the conflict in Gaza continuing to take a heavy toll, not only on civilians but also on humanitarian workers, the Secretary General reiterates his urgent appeal for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and for the release of all hostages.
The U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said on Monday, in fact, said that the President Joe Biden's administration does not believe what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. Sullivan, speaking to reporters at the White House, said the U.S. wants to see Hamas defeated.
We believe Israel can and must do more to ensure the protection and well-being of innocent civilians. We do not believe what is happening in Gaza is a genocide. We have been firmly on record rejecting that proposition. We have paused the shipment of 2,000-pound bombs because we do not believe they should be dropped in densely populated cities.
And condemning the death of civilians in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, India reiterated that international law and international humanitarian law must be respected by everyone under all circumstances.
The ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas has led to a large-scale loss of civilian lives, especially women and children. The resulting humanitarian crisis is simply unacceptable. We have as such strongly condemned the deaths of civilians in the conflict. International law and international humanitarian law must be respected by everyone under all circumstances.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Kiev on Tuesday in the first visit to Ukraine since Congress passed a long-delayed $61 billion military aid package for the country last month. It was an undisclosed trip which aims to show U.S. solidarity with Ukraine as it struggles to fend off heavy Russian bombardment on its northeastern border. Meanwhile, the United States has said that the military assistance from a multi-billion-dollar aid bill passed by Congress last month is already on the ground in Ukraine. Now, Russian troops entered Ukraine near its second-largest city of Kharkiv on Friday, opening a new northeastern front to try to widen the front and stretch Ukrainian forces. Fighting has been largely fought in the east and south. About 5,700 people had been evacuated from in and around the town of Vovchansk and urged the remaining residents to leave. The Ukrainian military said it would proceed with building up its forces in the area depending on the situation. Now, U.S. President Joe Biden signed a ban on Russian-enriched uranium into law on Monday in the latest effort by Washington to disrupt Moscow's offensive in Ukraine. The ban on imports of the fuel for nuclear power plants begin in about 90 days, although it allows the Department of Energy to issue waivers in case of supply concerns. Russia is the world's top supplier of enriched uranium, and about 24% of the enriched uranium used by U.S. nuclear power plants come from the country. The law also unlocks about $2.7 billion in funding in previous legislation to build out the U.S. uranium fuel industry. Time now for another short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India NewsHour. Philippines pledges to block China reclamation in South China Sea. Part of a collapsed bridge in Baltimore, deliberately destroyed. Bridge blasted in effort to clear the wreckage. And heavy rains lead to unprecedented flooding in southern Brazil. Details after the break.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we have done so far. Campaigning on in full swing as fifth phase of India's parliamentary election draws near. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will file nomination papers from Varanasi constituency. Star witness in Trump hush money trial Michael Cohen testifies for the first time, says he doled out $130,000 at Trump's direction and was promised reimbursement. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken makes a surprise visit to Kiev as Moscow tries to scale up its offensive against Ukraine in Kharkiv. Fresh US aid already arrives on the battlefield. Situation tense in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir's Muzaffarabad as wheel jam strike enters its fourth day. Political activists demand international community to raise their voice for them. And 77th Cannes Film Festival to begin in France with 22 films competing for the Palme d'Or. Léa Seydoux, the second act, will open the festival. The Philippine Coast Guard has deployed a patrol ship and inflatable boats to deter and monitor Chinese research vessels in the area near what it called the Escora Shoal. Philippines says it suspects China could be embarking on a grand strategy to seal off an oil-rich area in the disputed South China Sea before reclamation. It also suspects Beijing to use it as a base to thwart the movements of Philippine vessels after crushed corals were discovered near the Sabina Shoal. China has carried out extensive land reclamation on some islands in South China Sea, building air force and other military facilities, causing concern in Washington and around the region. The Philippines, China, Malaysia, Brunei and Vietnam have competing claims in the South China Sea. And China and the Philippines' relations are at the crossroads amid maritime incidents. DD India's Laura Westbrook tells us more about it from Hong Kong.
We are seeing increasingly combative encounters in the South China Sea, especially in recent months between the Philippines and China, with Chinese Coast Guard vessels blocking Philippine resupply missions into the area. In doing so, the Philippines says that they've used water cannon, they've even injured some Philippine crew members. And I think what we're seeing here as well is an increasingly assertive Philippines under the president of Marcos, and that comes with the backing of the United States. Some of the tactics that the Philippines has used is to bring journalists or NGOs on board the vessels in the South China Sea to witness these encounters. And I was reading just this week, an NGO is set to travel with on board a Philippine vessel into the South China Sea. That is most likely going to anger Beijing. And last week, we've seen the annual Balikatan, that means the shoulder-to-shoulder drills, the largest ever military drills taking place in the South China Sea, but with the United States and the Philippines. And a day after those drills finished, we saw the People's Liberation Army of China starting its own military exercises in the South China Sea.
And part of a collapsed bridge in Baltimore has been deliberately destroyed to allow them to remove a portion of the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge. Since the crash, 4 temporary channels have been opened, allowing for some shipping to resume. The Corps said it aims to restore port access to full capacity by the end of May. A ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge on 26 March, causing it to collapse and killing 6 construction workers. The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed after it was hit by a cargo ship, the Dali, which lost power and veered off course. The collision sent around 4,000 tons of debris into the Patapsco River. Maryland estimates it will cost $1.7 billion to $1.9 billion to rebuild the bridge and anticipates completion by fall 2028. Now, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan met with Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis in Ankara on Monday for bilateral talks. The meet comes as the two countries step up to improve ties between the two countries. Turkey and Greece have had series of issues including maritime boundaries, energy resources in the eastern Mediterranean, flights over the Aegean Sea and an ethnically split Cyprus. The two, however, come together as NATO allies.
When I was in Athens in December, I had shared with you my belief that there are no problems between Turkey and Greece that are so large that they are unsolvable. This is a process. To get more results, it needs to be carried forward meticulously.
Now, hundreds of university students in the Georgian capital walked out of classes on Monday and marched to Parliament to voice their opposition to a bill on foreign agents. The Foreign Agents Bill has triggered a political crisis in the South Caucasus country. The bill requires organizations receiving more than 20% of the funding from abroad to register as agents of foreign influence. The bill's opponents have staged near nightly protests for a month in Tbilisi. A rally on Saturday was one of the largest Georgia has seen since it won its independence from Moscow in 1991. The European Union has said the bill threatens Georgia's bid to join the bloc. The Parliament's main chamber is expected to debate and approve the bill as early as Tuesday. All right, weather updates from across the globe now. Devastating and ongoing flooding in southern Brazil is forcing some of the 500,000 displaced residents to consider moving on higher ground. 2 weeks after the onset of torrential rains, the Guaíba River, running by country's southernmost state, Rio Grande do Sul, is rising again, having passed the all-time high. The disaster has killed at least 147 people, with 127 still missing so far. The record devastation in Rio Grande do Sul follows floods in the second half of last year, leading many of the 538,000 people now displaced from their homes to consider more extreme adaptations. Environmental experts warn that there is no alternative for some towns in the state but to relocate entire neighborhoods. And torrential rains that caused widespread flooding and landslides across Kenya in recent weeks, killing at least 277 people, are forecast to worsen over the rest of this month. The floods have wreaked havoc, destroying homes, roads, bridges and other infrastructure across Kenya, East Africa's largest economy. The Nairobi government has set up 115 camps to host people displaced by flooding and is working closely with donors and humanitarian organizations to provide food and non-food supplies to those affected. And with an aim to provide humanitarian assistance to the flood-affected Kenya, stand up for a historical partnership, Vishwa Bandhu, to the world. India sends second tranche of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief material containing 40 tons of medicines, medical supplies and other equipments to assist flood victims. A tornado touched down on Venetia, Pennsylvania on Saturday, destroying buildings and sending debris flying through the air. Video shared online shows how the storm blew patio furniture and other items around as it passed through the township in Washington County. Local media reported the storm knocked down trees and prompted people to take shelter for around 40 minutes. Now, thousands of people in Canada's westernmost province of British Columbia have been evacuated as an enormous wildfire continues to grow. The massive blaze sent enormous plumes of smoke into the United States as well as Europe. Firefighters on Monday battled the wildfire heading towards the Canadian town. 6 crews of firefighters, backed by 13 helicopters, worked on Monday to establish a containment line near Fort McMurray. British Columbia's Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, Bowen Ma, said conditions in the north of the Pacific province were extremely challenging. A searing heat wave hit southeast Mexico over the weekend, causing blackouts nationwide and pushing the power grid to the brink. The intense heat caused blackouts lasting several hours in some areas of Mexico last week and caused classes to be suspended, which this week reached 50 degrees Celsius. The heat wave comes amid a severe nationwide drought that has caused a worsening water crisis in much of Mexico. Now, the 77th edition of the Cannes Film Festival begins today in the southern French city of Cannes. The opening day will see celebrities, actors and filmmakers from around the world walk the iconic red carpet. The opening film is the second act, a comedy by French director Quentin Dupieux. It is an out-of-competition film. 22 films, including an Indian film, All We Imagine as Light by Payal Kapadia, are competing for the prestigious Palme d'Or. It is awarded to the director of the Best Feature Film. Celebrated American actor Meryl Streep is the guest of honor at the opening ceremony. She is making an appearance at the festival 35 years after winning the Best Actress Award for Evil Angels at the festival. She is being conferred with an honorary Palme d'Or for her contribution to cinema. The 12-day long festival concludes on 25th May. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Tensions were high on the northern Mexican border in Ciudad Juarez on Monday when a group of migrants attempted to cut through the fence erected by the Texas National Guard to prevent them from approaching the border wall. Minutes later, Texas guardsmen arrived on the scene with pepper spray, rifles and ordered the migrants to move away from the fence. Notably, President Biden has toughened his approach to border security in recent months as immigration has emerged as a top concern among the voters. 5 Polish farmers were on hunger strike in the country's parliament over European Union environmental regulations. Farmers in Poland and elsewhere in the bloc have been protesting in recent months against cheap food imports from Ukraine and restrictions placed on them by the EU's Green Deal to tackle climate change. The group of farmers said they would not eat until they secure a meeting with Prime Minister Donald Tusk. Ancient sculpture depicting a female holding a tree branch above her was recently unearthed in Buriram province of Thailand. A team of archaeologists will now study the sculpture hewn into a rock. They will inspect the area to collect raw information for analysis, such as its approximate age and the name of the female in this sculpture. Alright, still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. Melinda French Gates steps down from charity foundation. Euro 2024 trophy arrives at the Munich Allianz Arena ahead of the tournament. And a mixed breed dog won the Westminster Dog Show's agility competition for the first time in history.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more stories. Bill Gates' former wife, Melinda French Gates, said on Monday that she would step down as co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation effective next month. In a statement on X, French Gates stated her departure and the Gates' earlier divorce arrangement would provide her with an additional $12.5 billion to commit to my work on behalf of women and families, unquote. Bill Gates and Melinda French Gates got divorced in May 2021. The Gates said in 2021 that they had reached an agreement on how to divide their marital assets, but no details of that agreement were disclosed in the final divorce order filed in court. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates said in a post on X, and I quote him, "I'm sorry to see Melinda leave, but I'm sure she will have a huge impact in her future philanthropic work," unquote. Now, ChatGPT maker OpenAI has released a new AI model called GPT-4o. Here, O stands for Omni. It is the latest update to its artificial intelligence model that powers ChatGPT. The new AI model is capable of realistic voice conversation and able to interact across text and vision, its latest move to stay ahead in a race to dominate the emerging technology.
Hello there, new AI friend. I'm O, ready to explore the world through your eyes. What are we looking at today?
Hi, O. We're looking at a person wearing a black leather jacket and a light-colored shirt. They're in a room with a modern industrial feel, with exposed concrete or plaster on the ceiling and some interesting lighting. There's also a plant in the background, adding a touch of green to the space. Anything specific you'd like to know or explore?
The new audio capabilities enable users to speak to ChatGPT and obtain real-time responses with no delay, as well as interrupt ChatGPT while it is speaking, both hallmarks of realistic conversations that AI voice chatbots have not had until now.
Hello, AI. Today, you're going to have access to see the world. You can see me. What do you see?
Hello. I see you're wearing a black leather jacket and a light-colored shirt underneath.
Great.
You're in a...
And during a presentation on Monday, researchers used the updated AI model to coach through a math equation, analyze data on a graph, and provide real-time language translations, among other demonstrations. Let's now listen to a song by the newcomer singer, which is an AI.
Actually, can you just sing a song about what just transpired?
Oh, in a room with a stylish view, a person stood in sleek black and light hue. Engage with us so direct.
And can you alternate lines?
Mm-hmm. Person with style and speed, person with style and sleek, with a playful moment right in the midst, in the room, in a room where modern lights peak.
India's dynamic and expansive economy has been a crucible for diverse shifts in employment opportunities over the years. Many sectors are emerging with robust growth prospects. This transformation is underscored by a recent report from SCOSH, India's leading think tank dealing with socio-economic issues.
With its large and diverse economy, India has over the years witnessed multifaceted changes in terms of employment opportunities. The employment scenario in the Indian economy is constantly changing, and many sectors are showing solid growth prospects. These possibilities have been further confirmed by a report by SCOSH, a think tank which deals in socio-economic issues.
51.4 crore person years of employment has been generated in the last 10 years, which averages about 5 crore employment per year.
Today, when India is moving rapidly on the path of economic development, there are some sectors which are expected to play a very important role in terms of employment opportunities in the country. This report talks about continuous reforms, the possibility of new employment, and the creation of new jobs. 5.1 crore person years of employment every year has been generated since 2014 on an average. Credit gap has declined by 12.1% during last 9 years. Report shows positive relationship between reduction in credit gap, reduction in multidimensional poverty.
13-14, India's financial deepening ratio was 19.71. As of 22, it had gone up to 31.85. The credit gap has fallen by 12.1% because of speeding. So this is called credit outreach gap. People who were having no access to credit, how many more people have access to credit?
The fifth series of this Modinomics report revealed that the employment figures between 2014 to 2024, according to which incentives like credit-linked employment and government schemes have led to a significant increase in employment since 2014. With this, 51.4 crore people get employment in 10 years. There was benefit in employment opportunities from government schemes. 2.52 crore people got employment through PMMY in 10 years. Financial inclusion gained momentum during Prime Minister Modi's tenure. From leveraging public services to fostering a thriving startup ecosystem, India is on the brink of offering abundant employment prospects. As the nation aims to ascend to the position of the world's third largest economy by 2027-28, a report like these serve as a testament to India's progress on the global stage, showcasing its development trajectory intertwined with employment opportunities.
Asian shares hovered around 15-month highs on Tuesday, and the dollar was firm ahead of highly anticipated US inflation data, while Japanese bonds were squeezed as the central bank pulled back a little on its bond buying program. World stocks were steady overnight, poised just below record peaks. A survey released on Monday by the New York Fed showed Americans see inflation a year from now at 3.3%, higher than they did a month earlier, and later on Tuesday, US producer price figures will be closely watched. In the currency market, nerves and the inflation expectation survey were enough to keep the dollar from falling. Dollar hit its highest since the start of the month, when traders reckon Japanese authorities were intervening to buy yen. All right, sports updates now. We'll start with Italian Open in tennis. French qualifier Alexander Müller came from a set down to beat fourth seed Russian Andrei Rublev in the third round of the Italian Open on Monday. Rublev, who won last week's Madrid Open, looked on track to advance to the last 16 in Rome, but Müller fought back to seal a 3-6, 6-3, 6-2 victory. Meanwhile, sixth seed Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece beat Brit Cameron Norrie 6-2, 7-6 and will next face Australia's Alex de Minaur. The ninth seed Minaur saw off Canadian hopeful Felix Auger-Aliassime 6-7, 6-4, 6-4. And former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson, preparing for his first professional fight since 2005, warned YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul on Monday that his life will be on the line during their July 20th bout. The 57-year-old Tyson, speaking at a press conference, said he wants to show the world he is still a great fighter. Tyson is going to fight against an opponent who is 30 years his junior. And the competitions of the fourth edition of the International Sailing League concluded in the city of Agadir on Monday. Egyptian player Karma Walid was crowned as the tournament champion. The event was organized under the supervision of Royal Moroccan Sailing Federation. It saw the participation of 64 male and female players from clubs and teams across African, Asian and European countries. And the Olympic torch on Monday traversed southern France's one of the country's most iconic bridges, Millau Viaduct, on the fifth leg of the torch today. Professional French skater Ty Chris carried the torch, which arrived in Marseille on Thursday through the 2.5-kilometer cable-stayed bridge early on Monday morning. The passage through the landmark coincided with the 20th anniversary of the completion of the construction of the bridge, which was inaugurated in 2004. Now, a Maryland dog zigged and zagged her way to history at the 2024 Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show after becoming the first mixed-breed dog to claim the Kennel Club's 11th annual Masters Agility Championship. The aptly named Nimble, a 6-year-old female, zipped through various hurdles at an astonishing speed to complete the obstacle course at 28.76 seconds before jumping into the arms of her owner.
Hold on, there we go! Get to the backside! There it is, that was a great turn! The crowd is going crazy, Cynthia's way out ahead! You gotta get this dog on, but they do! Are they gonna get a sub 30?
Oh my!
Look at this!
They will!
They do! Oh my God! That was amazing! amazing.
Really amazing. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as we break here on DD India. I'm Abhishek. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.